Enjoy this great game.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Baby Baseball channel. This is Eric, and today we got to continue the coverage on Trevor Bauer and his whole situation. It's been a while since I made a video, and a lot has happened since then. So Bauer, the 2020 Cy Young Award winner, has been sidelined, as we know, due to accusations of sexual assault in California. Although he still has not been charged. And important to note, he has not been criminally charged yet. But as far as the updates, there has been news that broke a couple days ago that there's another woman, completely different woman in Ohio. And the woman here in California is apparently not the first to seek a restraining order against Bauer, because that woman in Ohio did the same thing. And it was in June 2020. And she sought to get a restraining order against Bauer, and also has a very similar story. She was also apparently, at least these are the allegations, she was beaten very badly, and she was also choked during sex by Trevor Bauer. These are obviously very similar allegations to the ones in Pasadena. And there are police reports going back to 2017 when Bauer was with the Indians in Ohio, that this woman was trying to show police officers her eyes that were all messed up, but she ended up getting arrested for being intoxicated under the age of 21. Trevor Bauer finally broke his silence, but not about the current situation, but about this woman in Ohio. And we'll take a look at some of what he said and some of what his representation had to say. And you can see here, this is his tweet. While I've allowed my representatives to speak on my behalf over the last 6 weeks, I can no longer be silent. I will speak very candidly about the current petition when appropriate, meaning that he will talk about this situation in Pasadena at a later time, but he needs to address the Ohio allegations today. So I think it's important we look at what he had to say here. The Washington Post has spent the last 6 weeks digging into my life, attempting to contact hundreds of female friends and acquaintances with whom they suspect I had some sort of romantic relationship, some form of romantic relationship, some of whom I haven't had contact with in over a decade in an effort to create a false narrative. Several of these individuals have sent me screenshots of their requests. Many shared that they have had only positive things to say, and others felt very comfortable or harassed by the nature of their request. Despite my representatives providing a wealth of contradictory evidence, documents, statements, and background information showing the pattern of disturbing behavior by this woman and her attorneys, the Washington Post opted to ignore much of this information and run a salacious story disseminating defamatory statements, false information, and baseless allegations from a woman who was not only harassed and physically assaulted me, so he's saying that she harassed and physically assaulted him, but who also attempted to extort me for millions of dollars last year in exchange for her not coming forward with false claims. This is a continuation by the woman and her attorneys to make good on their threats to harm me by perpetuating a false narrative. This has been game from her, a game from her from the beginning, but my life is not a game, and I won't stand idly by and allow this conduct to continue. And then there's additional information from his representation, basically saying that he and her had an off and on, wholly consensual, we've heard that term before, relationship with the woman from 16 to 19, and that she's been basically following him around, and he's been trying to, end this whole relationship. And ultimately, she just wants a bunch of money. Her and her attorneys requested $3.4 million for her to remain silent. They decided not to give her any money, and then eventually she just stopped, just withdrew the protection petition and found new counsel, threatened a lawsuit, but it never really came of anything. So ultimately, that story never really came to the public, and the whole situation kind of went away. But now it's back, obviously, with a strikingly similar case here in California. And Bauer's representation is saying that both women are after money, or one was after money, and this one is as well. They both wanted that restraining order in order to win a big financial settlement from Bauer. And there's even a text message reportedly from this woman in California saying to her friend, they think he's going to try to settle with me, offer me major cash. But in the context of the text message, it doesn't look like she's saying that because she wants a bunch of cash. It looks like she's saying that in a complaintive way, saying, hey, they're trying to get me to sign a non-disclosure agreement and just pay me off. Now, even if that message is true, it does not necessarily mean that she was out to get money from the beginning, and it doesn't mean that Bauer is completely innocent. The legal process still has to take its place, and potential charges still need to be filed or not filed we have to just wait and see on that. But obviously, with this other case in Ohio being so similar, I think it's a bad thing for Trevor Bauer, and I think it's going to make a lot of people who were, on the fence, and maybe even some who were defending Bauer, now say, wait a second here, there's just too much smoke here for there not to be some fire. Trevor Bauer is obviously into hitting women and into extremely rough sex to the point that perhaps he is beating them beyond their consent, which, to beat somebody and really, harm them, I don't really know if it matters if they give consent or not. There is a point. There is a line that can be crossed where consent no longer matters. I would agree with that. But, both cases are strikingly similar. And according to the lawyer who filed for the restraining order in Ohio, that woman requested the order because of threats by Bauer to send a video of them having sex to members of her family. So it gets even crazier. And, like I said, she eventually did dismiss that protection order. There is a court hearing scheduled to begin today. It may have already begun in Los Angeles, where a Superior Court judge has to determine whether or not the current temporary restraining order against Bauer will continue to remain in place for the woman in California. So, like I said, just a lot has happened since my last report on Bauer, and obviously since then there have been lots of signs that Dodgers are distancing themselves. They canceled Trevor Bauer bobblehead night. They pulled all his merchandise. None of his teammates have really come out in support of him, and in fact, just the opposite. There have been reports that a lot of them don't even want him back. And so, even though there haven't been any, criminal charges filed, it's just looking really bad as far as Bauer pitching again anytime soon. I just don't see it happening this year. The union and MLB are going to continue to extend that administrative leave as long as possible. And even if somehow he becomes eligible, I just don't see it happening. I don't see the Dodgers allowing it. I don't even see a team giving him a chance anytime soon. So, MLB could also suspend him even without charges filed. It's happened before. There doesn't have to be a guilty verdict or anything like that. So we'll have to wait and see whether he'll pitch again. I don't even know if he's going to get charged. That's the thing. If he doesn't even get charged, or if he gets charged and ends up beating the case with a not guilty verdict, what can you do? MLB can suspend him, but eventually he's going to have to be allowed to return if a team will have him. And I just don't know if a team's going to be willing to give him a shot this day and age, knowing the backlash that's going to come with it. And he's going to have to share a locker room with guys who haven't really defended him. In fact, many of them have called him out, including Brett Anderson, Milwaukee Brewers pitcher. And this is what he tweeted out. Crazy to think that I can never get anyone out ever again and still feel better about my career than Trevor Bauer. It's kind of an interesting, weird thing to say because he's talking about comparing careers, and it kind of got the conversation going in a weird direction because people are now arguing over who's the better pitcher. When, I believe that he's, shouldn't even be talking about who the better pitcher is. So it's a kind of interesting tweet here, but obviously there's been some responses here. Here we have Brett Henderson. Somebody said, if we're talking about a career, I'd say he still wins, but life in general, not even close. You win. Okay. And Brett Anderson replies with, you're a effing moron if you'd take this Dodger career over mine, even with how shitty I pitched to second. Again, Brett Anderson, what are you? I'm just kind of confused. I don't mind anyone wanting to publicly come out and say, hey, I don't like Trevor Bauer. I don't, the guy's a piece of crap, whatever you want to say. But he's arguing with guys over their career and how good they are. This guy even said, as a person in general life, Brett Anderson wins. And Brett Anderson went off on the dude, calling him an effing moron. Just interesting, just bizarre, just weird. So they're arguing over how many strikeouts and career wins and ERA and stuff like this. Yeah, why you mad, bro? Luis literally said you win in life. Weird, just very odd. I don't know too much about Brett Anderson. I think he's kind of been publicly in the spotlight before for some of his tweets. So just strange. But anyway, ultimately, he is obviously not a fan of Trevor Bauer, and there have been some whispers also from some other players here and there that they're not appreciating Trevor Bauer right now, and it would seem obvious as to why. Ultimately, guys, I have refrained from coming up with any hard opinions because I know that there is a legal case that is still going on, and I know one thing: as bad as it looks, and it looks really bad, and it looks, really bad. And if you force me to guess, I'm gonna guess that Trevor Bauer's done some horrific things. I am. Sorry. I know that 90% it feels like of my comment section is all defending Trevor Bauer and saying Bauer did nothing wrong. You could say it's because I'm a Giants fan, which is ridiculous because ultimately I'm still defending Bauer's right to go to trial, to defend himself, to have counsel, and to try to clear his name. And I'm going to wait before I say anything definite about him or this entire case. I'm just giving the information that's coming out. I'm just saying it looks really, really, really bad. And if you forced me to guess, I would guess he has done something really, really bad, but I'm not saying officially that is the final verdict because we don't know yet. It still has to go to trial, but it just looks terrible with this second woman now. Very similar, accusations. I know that if there were charges against me or accusations against myself, I would want people to wait and let me try to defend myself. But, that's not the world. Public opinion is public opinion. The courtroom is the courtroom. And we'll just have to wait and see. I will say this. I don't see him pitching anytime soon. Not this year. And the only time I see him ever pitching again is if either charges are not filed at all, which potentially could happen, or if he's able to somehow beat the charges if they are filed. And that's a long way away. But that's just so far ahead right now. It's just not even worth thinking about because who knows, what's going to happen with this case. But Trevor Bauer is going to be out for a while. Those are the updates. To me, it's looking worse and worse and worse, despite what he's saying in his defense is saying. Maybe that woman was crazy. Maybe she was following him around. I mean, who knows? But, maybe there's wrong on both sides. Maybe they are trying to get money. I mean, who doesn't want some money? But ultimately, if he did what they're saying and he beat them, like they're saying, without consent, or even with consent, once they're unconscious, it doesn't really matter, then I think he's complete trash. I think he's a horrible human being. I think he deserves to be locked up. And I've said it before, and I'm saying it again just to be clear on that. But I'm also willing to wait for the legal process to take place before determining ultimately what exactly he's guilty of and how guilty of it. So you guys have a great day. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the thumbs up button. Let me know your thoughts on this situation, and we'll talk to you next time.
When the Giants come to town, it's bye-bye, baby. Every time the chips are down, it's bye-bye, baby. History's in the making at Oracle Park.